Sussex land a new deal with Netflix, says the Daily Mail. Very good morning to you, Kinsey.
I know that this is something you've been praying about, Mike Graham. I know that this is good news for you, that Harry and Meghan have secured another Netflix contract. But I mean, the reality is
the number was so small, Netflix wouldn't even confirm it publicly. The streaming giant that once paid Harry and Meghan $100 million had just offered them a deal worth, according to industry insiders, less than a tenth of that. Dan Wootton called it what it was on live television. They're not worth what they once were. Those 7 words weren't just commentary. They were a verdict on the most spectacular fall from grace Hollywood had witnessed in years.
this is just a first look deal. They just get first dibs when it comes to Harry and Meghan's creative, ideas, which we've heard Prince Harry doing a review show on hot cocoa.
But to understand how we got here, how the golden couple went from 9-figure deals to what sources call pocket change by Netflix standards, we need to go back to when the phone stopped ringing.
How exciting is that for Netflix? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what a cooking show is going to bring to the general wealth of the world, because her last cooking show was pretty dull, wasn't it?
I would say so. So it landed in the last few months.
September 2020 had been electric. Every major streaming platform wanted the Sussexes. Netflix, Amazon, Apple, even Disney circled like sharks smelling blood in royal waters. The bidding war pushed their Netflix deal to astronomical heights. $100 million for multi-year content creation. Headlines called it the ultimate post-royal victory, proof that walking away from the palace meant walking into even greater wealth and influence.
Their families and are, spending just kind of looking at each other and twiddling their thumbs. I don't really trust this woman as an authority on how to
4 years later, the silence was deafening. When their original Netflix deal approached expiration in late 2024, not a single competing offer materialized. Amazon passed. Apple didn't return calls. Disney, which had once courted Meghan for voiceover work, showed zero interest. The couple who'd triggered a streaming bidding war now faced an empty auction house. Netflix held all the cards, and they knew it.
How to celebrate the holidays.
No, exactly right. And it's kind of embarrassing, isn't it, really? I mean, looking back on what they were and what they used to be, and when they were in this country, when they were still part of the family, if you like, and people...
The announcement came wrapped in corporate speak, a multi-year first-look deal that would continue their creative partnership. But Hollywood insiders immediately decoded the language. First look meant Netflix got to see their ideas first but committed to nothing. No guaranteed productions, no upfront millions. Just the right to pass on whatever Harry and Meghan pitched. As one studio executive told trade journalists, "It's what you give people you can't completely cut loose but don't really want."
To Africa and do their thing. It's all a bit sad now, isn't it?
It is, because this feels, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like such a hard sell from Netflix. It feels like Netflix is trying to make us like...
The numbers told the real story. While Netflix refused to confirm figures, multiple sources placed the new deal's value at under $10 million total. Not per year total. Compare that to their original $100 million, and the math becomes humiliating. They'd lost 90% of their market value in 4 years. In any other industry, that's not a pay cut. It's a corporate execution performed in slow motion.
I think it's her lack of authenticity, but I also think it's because we've heard stories about how she's not very nice to people behind the scenes. So it's hard for us to believe that this is somebody that's pursuing joy.
Dan Wootton's evisceration on British television turned brutal math into public spectacle. "They're living in a fantasy about their influence," he said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. He called the new deal Netflix's polite way of saying we'll work with you, but on our terms now. Within hours, his words became headlines across British tabloids. Netflix downgrades Harry and Meghan splashed across front pages. The narrative was set. This wasn't a renewal, it was a demotion.
Well, let's talk about that next Netflix deal, rather. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have extended their Netflix partnership, signing a deal reportedly much less than their previous $100 million one, according to Page 6. So we've already had with Love, Meghan. What else can we expect from this?
But the real humiliation lay in what Netflix actually wanted from them. Gone were the promises of prestige documentaries and inspiring content. Internal sources revealed Netflix's new Sussex strategy. Controversy over quality. They weren't betting on Harry and Meghan's creative vision. They were betting on their ability to generate headlines, any headlines. The company that once positioned them alongside Obama and Attenborough now viewed them as expensive clickbait.
Netflix is in a very strange position. Actually, what they did, with this first look deal, a first look deal is where all that means, it doesn't mean that they are going to do anything, that they're going to put on any show where they would be paying Harry and Meghan money. I mean, they have promised.
The track record justified the downgrade. Their Netflix productions had underperformed across every metric that mattered. The Harry and Meghan docuseries drew strong initial numbers, 81 million hours viewed in its first week. But by week 3, it had vanished from the top 10. No cultural impact, no water cooler moments, just expensive navel-gazing that audiences quickly forgot. Live to Lead, their Nelson Mandela-inspired series, performed so poorly Netflix didn't even release viewing figures.
With Love Meghan, or also for Christmas, a Christmas special. But other than that, a first look deal just means that they have to show Netflix they have to show Netflix first any project that they want to do. So if Netflix wants to buy it, and do it, then fine. But if they
Heart of Invictus, Harry's passion project about wounded veterans, earned respectful reviews but generated virtually no buzz. In the streaming world, critical praise without audience engagement equals failure. One Netflix insider, speaking anonymously, was blunt. "We paid for events, not content. Once you've told your royal story, what's left?" The answer apparently was cooking shows and polo documentaries, hardly the world-changing content they'd promised. The desperation showed in their latest pitches. Harry proposed a hot chocolate review show. Meghan wanted to film herself cooking. These weren't the ideas of confident creators. They were the panicked suggestions of people who'd run out of stories to sell. Industry veterans recognized the pattern. Celebrities who'd exhausted their one interesting narrative grasping for relevance. The same executive who'd once fought to sign them now wouldn't return their calls. Even more damaging was what Page 6 reported about the negotiations. Harry and Meghan hadn't just accepted less money. They'd accepted stricter terms, more oversight, less creative control, specific deliverables with financial penalties for non-delivery. Netflix essentially put them on probation, transforming them from partners to employees. The company that once gave them carte blanche now treated them like risky investments requiring constant supervision. The timing amplified the humiliation. This downgrade came as their rivals thrived. William and Catherine's popularity soared to record highs. The Crown's final season reminded audiences why real royalty fascinated more than exported versions. Even other celebrity streaming deals outshone theirs. The Obamas maintained their prestigious partnership. Reese Witherspoon commanded massive deals. Even the Beckhams documentary outperformed anything Harry and Meghan produced. Polling data revealed the couple's commercial kryptonite, audience fatigue. In Britain, over 60% of respondents said they actively avoided Sussex-related content. American numbers showed similar erosion, particularly among the younger demographic streaming platforms prize. The couple who'd once commanded global attention now triggered channel changes. Netflix's own internal metrics reportedly showed viewers abandoning Sussex content at higher rates than almost any other documentary programming. The industry response was savage. Variety called it a face-saving gesture by Netflix. The Hollywood Reporter noted the deal's structure suggested Netflix was hedging their bets. Even sympathetic outlets couldn't spin it positively. The Guardian, which had often defended them, ran the headline, "The Sussex brand hits reality." Every article included that damning comparison. 100 million then, less than 10 million now. Behind the scenes, the damage went deeper. CAA, their talent agency, reportedly struggled to generate alternative options. Brands that once courted Meghan's involvement grew silent. Speaking engagement fees, once in the six figures, dropped precipitously. The ecosystem that sustained celebrity, endorsements, appearances, partnerships, was drying up. They weren't just worth less to Netflix. They were worth less to everyone. The New York Times delivered perhaps the cruelest assessment. Their media critic wrote that Harry and Meghan had become the former celebrities that celebrities used to be, famous for having been famous, trading on rapidly depleting cultural capital. The article noted that even their criticism of the royal family had lost its currency. How many times can you sell the same grievance? The piece asked. The market had answered, not many. Meghan's response strategy made things worse. Her team leaked stories about exciting new creative directions and finally having the freedom to pursue passion projects. But everyone could see through the spin. When you go from guaranteed millions to maybe getting your cooking show picked up, that's not creative freedom. That's creative freefall. The woman who'd once demanded Duchess treatment now pitched kitchen content to streaming executives who barely returned her emails. Harry's public appearances grew increasingly awkward. At a recent charity event, reporters asked about the Netflix renewal. His response, "We're very excited about our continued partnership," sounded rehearsed and hollow. Body language experts noted his discomfort. The forced smile, the quick exit. The prince who'd once commanded rooms now seemed diminished, a man watching his market value plummet in real time. The final insult came in how Netflix announced the deal. No press release, no executive quotes praising their vision, just a brief mention buried in a quarterly investor call. The company that had once treated their signing as front-page news now treated their renewal as barely worth mentioning. The message was clear. The Sussexes had gone from prestige partners to afterthoughts. Today, Harry and Meghan find themselves in an impossible position. They can't walk away from Netflix. No one else is calling. But staying means accepting their diminished status publicly. Every project under this new deal will be scrutinized through the lens of their downgrade. Success will be dismissed as lucky. Failure will confirm they're finished. They're trapped in a deal that pays them like supporting players while the world remembers when they were stars. The hot chocolate review show Harry pitched, Netflix passed. Meghan's cooking show, still in development hell. Their big idea for a documentary about their charitable work, dead on arrival. The first look deal increasingly looks like a last look. Netflix's way of keeping them around just in case they stumble into something valuable, but with no real expectation they will. Industry veterans see a familiar pattern, the slow fade of celebrities, who confuse temporary interest with permanent value. The Sussexes believed their royal connection would translate into lasting Hollywood power. Instead, they learned what every former something eventually discovers. Once you've sold your story, you're just another content creator competing for attention. And in that competition, they're not just losing. They're being priced out of their own market. The question isn't whether Harry and Meghan can recover. Recovery implies returning to a previous height. The question is whether they can find a floor to their decline before they hit irrelevance entirely. Can they reinvent themselves as something other than former royals with grievances? Or will they become Hollywood cautionary tales? The couple who had everything traded it for Netflix money and ended up with neither crown nor career? The streaming gold rush that made them rich has become the algorithm that's making them irrelevant. And in an industry where you're only as valuable as your last hit, Harry and Meghan haven't had a hit in so long, Netflix can barely remember why they paid them in the first place.